Hello everybody. Welcome to this morning's Speakers for Schools virtual talk. We're delighted you've been able to join us today. This session will last for around 45 minutes and will include a presentation from our speaker before moving to student Q&A. Questions can be submitted via the Q&A function on the right-hand side of your screen, and this will be open throughout the speaker's presentation. Unfortunately, we will not be able to answer all submitted questions. There is simply not enough time to answer them all, but rest assured we have received them. We're really excited to welcome this morning's speaker, Sharon Walpole, Director with Careermap. Sharon has kindly agreed to join us today to discuss how you can prepare for your future careers, from understanding what your passion is, how to research and find out more about the careers you might be interested in, and sharing some resources that may help you think about your future. Sharon, hi, welcome to your first Speakers for Schools virtual talk. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited about it, and it's something I'm really passionate about, so it's great to be able to share it.
Fantastic. Well, I think you have a wonderful presentation to get us started, and in the meantime, our students can submit questions as well.
Great. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to meet you, and I hope you'll enjoy and find what I have to say interesting and inspiring. Just to get stuck straight in, as you can see, we're thinking about something that may seem like a long time away from you now, but it's good to start thinking about what the future can hold for you. Whether you're doing A-levels, a vocational qualification like a VTalk, or you want to do an apprenticeship or go to university, all these pathways are stepping stones for your future career. So we're going to spend a little bit of time looking about how you can get inspired and where you can go and looking for things, because as we all know, it's very difficult to Google something if you don't know what you're Googling. So I hear quite often young people saying to us, I don't know what I want to do. You get all sorts of options presented to you, but don't panic. Nothing is set in stone. I'd like to help you start to think about how to approach these decisions and where you can find the information to help you. We often find that people think that a career path looks like this, but let's bust this common myth. Careers these days are very rarely for life. Most people take a career path think that taking a career path is like a straight line like this, with each step building neatly upwards, like steps up to your final goal and your dream career. But actually, it looks a bit more like this. And I think you'll find it's true whenever you speak to anyone. It's very rare that a person knows at your age what they want to be when they grow up. So don't worry about it. It's even more rare that they took all the right steps towards a dream career without any changes of action. Take me, for instance. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a graphic designer. I worked after school for my dad, who was a typesetter, and that's a job that no longer exists due to technology. I thought graphic designers were very glamorous, and I fancied myself as a bit of an artist. But my dad told me I would never make any money, and that only the top designers got any work. So for some bizarre reason, I decided to do a degree in German, which frankly I've never used professionally, and it's only helped me get a job by the fact that I had a degree. I didn't stray far from the idea of graphic designing though, because I went to work in publishing. But then I was a college lecturer at a college, and then I built up a publishing company with a group of companies that were all in the careers and education sector and became a CEO. That's a chief executive, the head of the pile. But now I've stepped back a bit, not too much though, because I'm a director at Careermap, and I'm also the editor of Careermap. So I'm still in publishing, still working with young people, but I hire graphic designers now. The most important thing at your age is to take time to explore. Ask people what they do for a living. Ask them how they got there. Read articles online, keep notes of things that interest you. The main challenge will be, how do you search for something if you don't even know what to look for? That is why, by asking questions and exploring and digging around, you may find something you didn't even know existed. It can be hard to think beyond traditional job roles like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a teacher. So how do you make a start? The main thing to start with is about yourself, getting to know you. A good activity is to write down all the things that you love doing. It can be big or small, from loving baking, solving puzzles, playing fast action video games. Ask adults what they do for work. Do they like it? What do they like or dislike about the job? How did they get the job? What experience or qualifications do they have? I think you'll be surprised by what they tell you. Make a list of your skills. What are you good at? This can be things like sports, arts, coding, maths, but it could also be things like you're always on time, you like helping others, you like solving puzzles, you even like going to school. These last things are called transferable skills. There are many skills that are not just specific to one job or one industry sector. For instance, being good at coding or solving puzzles could mean you'd be great at working in computing, digital, or an IT career. But did you know that almost every industry sector and business needs someone with these skills? You do not have to work in a tech company. For instance, if you love to work with horses, or you love horses, you could work for a top horse breeder and manage their technology that runs their business, the best of both worlds. Also, if you like the idea of working in healthcare and like helping other people get well, you could be a doctor or nurse, but you could also be an art therapist or a chiropodist or a radiographer. There are many skills that cross jobs in healthcare and mental health, and even social care. Most importantly, relax. You have time. It does, of course, help to have an idea of the direction you want to go into, because taking the appropriate and relevant courses now will help you get to where you want to go. Trying to find a career information when you don't even know what you want to look for can be frustrating. A good way to start is to know what tools are available to help, how to search for the right thing, and to make sure that the websites that you are using do provide reliable information and good quality information. So for tools, I'll be showing you a list of good sector websites in a minute or two that have career information about their sectors. Most have quizzes, case studies, and videos of all sorts of jobs. Please take the time to explore them thoroughly. You never know what you might stumble across that will really excite and inspire. Finding this out will be a first great step to help you search more widely for further information. And when you go on a website, please remember to always scroll down. If you see just the top of the page, you may miss an awful lot of information that's down at the bottom. And don't be put off by any sector. You might think, well, I never want to be a doctor. But did you know the NHS employs people for jobs in nearly everything, from chefs and gardeners to accountants and education specialists, in addition to a vast range of medical people outside nurses and doctors, and again, with jobs you may not even know exists. With knowledge, I've said it before, but it's really important to try to keep a record and keep notes of things that you've liked or that you want to revisit. You obviously can get a pad of paper and write down notes, or you can use digitally on your phone with notes pad that you have on there. You can also favorite your favorite web pages and follow them on social media. This means that you can go back to them whenever you want. And seeking advice is always key. Parents, friends, and family, they're great, but they may have as limited knowledge as you have. You might find something so exciting that you can throw the net wider. You might even educating them as well. Your school career advisor is a great place to start. Have a chat about your thoughts and ask questions about how to get where you want to go, especially on potential relevant subjects to be studying or qualifications that would be most useful. This is key at times where you're thinking about maybe your GCSEs or A levels or leaving school at 16 or doing an apprenticeship. All these things come with a qualification attached. They may be confusing for you because they don't seem particularly real in your day-to-day, but even if you have a certain direction you want to go, it can help building those steps now. But most importantly, do what you are passionate about. Getting good grades and enjoying what you do is fundamental for success now, to enjoy school, but also for the future. If you're over 18 and watching this, you can go on the National Careers Service and speak to an advisor directly. The most important thing to remember is that things will change over your lifetime, and you will change. Be aware of yourself and your passions. Now is the right time to explore and find out what there is out there to do. Things will keep changing over time. Technology will make things evolve and will constantly make an impact on the world of work. So how things look like now will look completely different by the time you get to my ripe old age. When I was young, YouTube, friends, Facebook, all those sorts of things didn't even exist. Now they're key parts of most businesses and what they do. You make sure that most people don't have a career for life anymore as well. So it's a good idea to find out what your passions are. You could work in a job you love or in a sector that you're passionate about, because remember, you will be doing this for a large part of your life. The next few slides are a bit text heavy, and that's because I've made you lists of great websites for you to start to explore. I've tried to cover as wide and diverse sectors as possible. While you're watching this presentation, you might want to take some screenshots, and that way you can revisit them when we're done talking. But it's also, Speakers for Schools will be having these resources available following the presentation as well. The presentation is also being recorded, so you can always go back to it. But let's start looking what I was saying about looking at different health careers. I chose health careers particularly in the NHS site because it's one of the sites that is impressed me most by having all sorts of things that you can do on it. It's got quizzes, it's got ways that you can go through and do pathways and how you can get to jobs, but it also has a phenomenal range of jobs. Like I said before, not everything in healthcare is necessarily being a doctor or nurse. I'll give you a little look now and we can have a little slight explore just to give you an idea.
Sharon, I think you've stopped sharing for a sec.
Oh, now I'm on the wrong screen. Sorry about this, everybody. Here we go. Right. Is that all set up? Can everyone see that?
Nope, I think you have to share your screen again.
I'm sorry about that. Is it shared?
No, not yet.
I seem to have lost my screen share. Share. There we go. It says from my end it's sharing, is it not?
Yes, it is. We can see it.
Right. Okay. Apologies. This is where young people are going to have an advantage over me with your use of technology. So this is the NHS Careers site. As you can see, they have 350 careers. And again, it's not necessarily all just on the healthcare side. Going to a site like this one, and the link will be provided, tells you all sorts of things. One, what it's like to work at the NHS. And we all know that right now, what a key part that is with the coronavirus, people who are caring for people, people who are on the front line doing research and drugs to help us with vaccines. There's a quiz here that you can find out your ideal healthcare. Now, I know some people don't like quizzes because they can say you should be a dentist, or it might say you should be a vet, and you're thinking that's not anything that interests me. But what it will do is start sparking you to ask yourself the same questions. It will also help you start to find what those transferable skills are that you have that might actually be suitable for jobs you didn't know exist. The NHS is a big campaign for nurses now. You can find out more about that. You can compare health roles, and technology is hugely important for the NHS at the moment. And it tells you about different courses, how you can get there. You can explore roles. If you're actually going to start looking for a job, for instance, you may be interested in doing an apprenticeship right now, or what you're thinking about doing in the future. And there's even more details for you teachers out there and careers advisors to find out much more information. But if you don't scroll down, you might miss things like they have a whole host of videos, they have news, they have other resources, and even events. So when you go to the site, make sure that you spend the time having a look around, because that will make all the difference. Another sites that we have quite a lot, and you hear a lot about, are STEM subjects. And many of you might think, oh, I hate maths, I don't like science, it's not for me. But as I said before about technology, it will affect every job of the future. And you can do both. There are so many sectors that engineering actually is a part of. So for instance, on Tomorrow's Engineers site, which is made just for young people like yourselves, you can check about engineering in all these different areas. Just having a look at this one, you can see you've got health and beauty and lifestyle, you've got nature and animals, you've got entertainment, sport, food, medicine, all sorts of things. Again, it has a quiz that can help you match your transferable skills, tell you what kind of careers are in those sectors with engineering, and also help you find out what companies are doing it and what jobs they are, and again, have videos and see what somebody's doing actually for the job, how they got there, why they like it. Quizzes may not provide all the answers, but they can help you focus your thinking. This is a quiz page from Creative Careers. Creative Careers is one of the websites that organization that pulls together everything from art students to graphic designers to television and radio. And as you can see from the list there, they've got all sorts of creative things that you might be interested in. It helps you find what you enjoy. Remember, a lot of the skills that you have can change from place to place. So coming back to myself, when I worked for a typesetter, that was way back in the old days when you used to do cutting and pasting quite literally with a knife and with glue. And we cut and paste things, put them on the board, took photographs, and then we made screens, and then they went to print. Unlike you today on a computer, when you can do it on something as simple as Word. But the main thing is the transferable skills that I got. I learned so much about the world of publishing from more of a hands-on approach that it prepared me for the world that we face now, which is online and with technology. And that's the way the future is going to be. Right now, most people, and going forward might even be more, but most people have at least 5 different careers in a lifetime. That's why it's so important to find out what makes you you and what you actually love. So now we're getting to all the lists of different sites. I've chosen all these sites from organizations that are called sector bodies or membership bodies. A sector body is an organization that promotes their sector, that tries to inform people about careers and qualifications in their sector, because everybody wants you. In the future, even though it may in the short term be difficult for jobs, everybody's going to be competing for those kids with transferable skills. So you can select what you'd like to do. On this page, we have Tomorrow's Engineers, which has all sorts of information, as I showed you previously. Creative Careers, these are careers that are all within the creative sector. Tasty Careers, yes, engineering is in food and drink too, but so is distribution and logistics. If you're good for puzzles, it's a good one to look at. Engineering Utility, now this is all your gas and electric companies who are very, very, very on the cutting edge of environmental work. If you're keen to work in an environment, it's certainly one to look at. We've looked at NHS Health Careers, and I put in careers in racing as well, because I showed you all the different sites. But again, when I talked about horses earlier, this is horse racing. But in horse racing, you don't have to be a jockey. They still need vets, they need gardeners, they need people working in hospitality, they even need travel agents. Could be a way of combining a love of horses with a really exciting career. UK Music also has all sorts of careers that are on the stage, but also all the technical for people that get them on the stage, all the writers and all the different people that get that music out there. I'll show you in a minute, but I'm very excited to say that we did a big feature on careers and qualifications in music with UK Music in our latest edition of Careermap for school leavers, where you can really dive in and see case studies and see what kind of careers are available. The British Association of Sports and Exercise has all sorts of careers. If you love the great outdoors and like getting fit, This Is Engineering is also another engineering site that has all sorts of information like aerospace and aviation. I put the National Career Service on. This is for older people. Yeah, this is for ages 18 and older. However, it also has a really excellent list of definitions of different careers. So when I was explaining about exploring further, for instance, on UK Music, you find a job you want to do, you find information. When you go wider, you can go on the National Career Service as well and have a look and see what kind of information they also have, and case studies. There's loads of stuff out there, and finding it is like going on a tree, knowing the core of what you want and then spreading out on the branches to get more detailed information. Fire It Up is the government website on apprenticeships. It's a little bit of a dry site. I'm sorry if anybody works for apprenticeships there, but it does have all the live vacancies, and it does have quite a lot of information, detailed information about what an apprenticeship is, how much you'll get paid, what qualifications you might get, what sectors are hiring. We also have on careermap.co.uk hundreds of thousands of live vacancies that you can have a scroll through, alongside with more detailed information about what those jobs are. And of course, last but definitely not least, I've put Speakers for School on here and their VTalks. You have me here live now, but they've recorded all the sessions from amazing and interesting people that you can go back to later. That's why keeping notes is really important. Favoriting those pages are really important. Following the social media is really important, because you might see something now and then say 6 months later, or you come to a point where you have to make a key decision about something and you might just be thinking, where did I see that before? Keeping a list is really, really key. And finally, no presentation with me would be complete without letting you know about Careermap's Career Mag for school leavers. Our magazine comes out once a term, and we go deep in depth, like we did with UK Music in this current issue, which you can download now, that provides with all sorts of information, and there are great pages that you can actually pull out. You can download the PDF and store it wherever you're storing the other information. For you teachers and careers advisors out there, you can subscribe as well. We also do one for parents. But one thing that's nice too is that the pages can be pulled out and be great resources and posters for your classroom. I put all the links on there. That's me for prattling on for now. I look forward to hearing what questions you've all got, and I apologize again for my tech failure earlier.
Thank you so much, Sharon. We've had a lot of questions submitted from students, which is fantastic. So the first question that actually got submitted from our students was, how do you weigh up passion versus risk in your career?
Risk is always a funny one, and I would have said, possibly even 10 years ago, that risk is risk. It's a funny one, because I have certainly learned from speaking to a load of employers that they will have said to me, show me someone who's passionate about what we do. Show someone who has some interest and skill and is willing to learn. We can teach them the job. That's where your passion comes in, and that's where transferable skills can come in, because skills like tech can cross any sector. Now, risk comes from not getting qualifications and not getting the work experience. All of those things add up to make your CV. And for some jobs, and we absolutely have to say this, that are professional jobs. And when we say professionals, we're talking about things like your doctor, your lawyer, your teacher. They have very rigid and very specific qualifications and even grades that you need to get. So it's very important at this stage, if those are the paths that you want to go down, that you make sure you find out what that information is that's relevant to you, so that you are taking the right GCSEs, you are taking A-levels if you need to, You'd be surprised. You can even go into law with an apprenticeship now. And what universities offer the best courses. So that's why thinking now about your future is really important. But I would say that the risk is mostly related to those professional qualifications.
Fantastic, thank you. And you mentioned work experience there. One of our students here has asked, how important is testing the water through work experiences? And how can I go about getting work experience?
Work experience is one of the most fundamental things that you can do. Not only does it give you a taste to see if it's something that you like to do, but employers on a CV, when you go eventually to apply for jobs, love it. It shows that you've shown a passion for it, that you have some idea. I mean, it may surprise you, but some employers have people coming applying for jobs that they don't even know what it is, which is not a good place to be. Finding work experience is a slippery fish. If your school's very good at it, definitely talk to your school and see what they can help organize. Obviously, if you've got friends and family who work in a sector, that you can ask them if they can help you arrange work experience. But also, if you have a look at those sites that I've put up, lots of those sector bodies have relationship with their employers and actually organize work experience. And I will add right now, with coronavirus and people being at home and not being able to go into workplaces, I mean, a lot of workplaces right now can't even take their own employees in, much less work experience. I have seen opportunities where they're doing it online and they're actually getting young people to do work experience activities remotely. So they are out there, but like this, I've said all along, young people, you cannot expect everybody to drop everything in your lap. You've got to take the initiative if you can, start thinking about it and reaching out. And if you see an employer, like let's say you see a case study and you see some young woman or young man doing a job that you think, wow, that's really cool, you can always reach out to the organization who put those up and ask questions. You can sometimes get in touch with the people who are in the case study and ask them. But it is requiring you to find out what it is that you want to do first and then reaching out.
Absolutely, and we have just shared a link for students as well in the Q&A thread, just looking at a few virtual work experience programs that Speakers for Schools are running on our work experience side of things, which are quite helpful, I think, during the current climate where we're unable to join the actual workspace itself. And one of our students here had asked, they mentioned they were interested in going into banking, and so if they were wanting to work in a major bank like Goldman Sachs, for example, what would be the kind of next steps for them to think about in terms of securing work experience?
Again, a lot of the employers, especially in the financial sector, are quite good with offering work experience, and a lot of them have on their own sites career information portals, and some even you can register for work experience directly on the employer site. There used to be a sector body for the financial sector, but as far as I'm aware, there isn't one that pulls them all together in this case. So it's important then that you look at what kind of getting in touch with the employers that offer the kind of jobs that you have. And one thing I will say about banking and finance, it's one of the strongest areas right now in apprenticeships. And they are quite big money. They tend to pay more than what the apprenticeships do, and they even offer higher apprenticeships. And a higher apprenticeship is degree level, so you will get a qualification, work experience, and you don't have to pay for it. I know that's a bit beyond the work experience in the banking sector, but I do think that is one place that you can actually go quite far. And it also has quite a lot of different jobs that you may not know exist as well. For instance, my middle son now is in wealth management, which I didn't know what that was. And he's working for financial advisors doing stocks and shares, you know, and there's a lot out there. And that's one thing, if you get in touch with the banks and look on their employment pages, or get in touch with their HR person, that's a human resources director, they could probably help you find the relevant work experience.
Fantastic advice. Thank you so much. Another one of our students, which I think relates to when a student might be on work experience or engaging with an organisation or employer, they've asked, I fear becoming too annoying by asking too many questions. What do you think? Is that a problem? Is that okay?
I don't understand. Asking too many questions?
Yeah, if they're on work experience.
Absolutely not. It's better to be annoying. Obviously, you don't want to speak to someone on the telephone, and you don't want to be interrupting somebody when they're in the middle of stuff. But they know that you're here for work experience, and if you don't ask a lot of questions, you may end up having a week just sitting there not really getting a lot out of it. And the more interest you show, the more enthusiasm you show, it makes you look like a super keen person that they're going to want to keep in touch with.
Absolutely. We've had a lot of questions here. One of our very popular questions is from Fernando, who asks, I'm passionate about lots of things. How do I know what to pursue?
Exactly, and that's kind of the point of the whole presentation. Again, it comes back to, and I always say this, yourself first. You can say you're passionate about a lot of things, but introspection is really important. Introspection means looking in at yourself. So what are those key things that you are passionate about? If we go back to some of the websites that I just showed you, you can see that a lot of things transfer across a lot of things. And I'll use a passion for technology as an example, because young people obviously play loads of video games, they're on their phones, they help their parents sort out the television to hook up the cable network and so on. They have a lot of innate skills. Now that is a key transferable skill that can go across lots of different sectors. You may not want to be a coder, but you may have a real interest in how things work with technology. So that can take you to any sort of job. That's why introspection, and I use the case of horses as an example. Somebody might not think, well, I'm in technology, so the horses thing is not for me. But if you think about it, these are still organizations that are having a business to run. So finding out what you are really passionate about isn't just about finding outward what you're passionate about, but it's also what you like doing. And then you can start marrying those things together.
Excellent. And on the kind of flip side to that, a student has asked, what if I don't have a passion, but I want a job?
Yeah, well, it depends on when you want a job. Apprenticeships right now from the age of 16, you can start. If you don't want to leave school, just do the subjects that you love. You never know what you might take and come across as a topic and a subject that you find really, really interesting. And if you want to leave school and get a job, you can start applying. But I would say that obviously right now that's going to be a real challenge, because with everybody being in uncertain times, you're going to be in competition with lots of other people. So either staying on education and building those qualifications is a good idea, and then you can explore and find what interests you. Or again, I come back to apprenticeships. The government has already made a big promise to push and really help that. There are start right schemes for the young people, helping them get employment. So employers are looking to take young people on now. Also, if you're young and you're looking for a job, one of the key things to do is looking about where you live. Yeah, this is called labor market information. So you might live out in the countryside but want to work for a tech company. Well, there may not be many tech companies near where you are. Can you drive there? Can you get there? Can you work from home? So it's really important to spend a bit of time in finding out what's in your area. Who are the big companies? Who are the big employers? And then have a look at them and see, are these the sort of places that I'd be interested in? Of course, you could work for your local place as well. And one thing we haven't mentioned is volunteering and working for charities. Right now, charities need a huge amount of help. And not only is that a very good thing to do for your soul, but it's also a type of work experience. And you can get some skills and find out if that's something that you would like to do. But you could get skills simply on how to run a register, you know, and when people come to pay, help them with their technology again, helping with young people, old people, and those sorts of things give you good work experience, make you feel good for yourself, and give you a taster before you jump right out to the world of work.
That's wonderful, thank you. One of our students has submitted something I think is quite an interesting question. They've said, how easy or realistic is it to get a job that you like? Most adults I know don't like the jobs that they have, so I often feel like it's too ambitious for me to aim for a job that I would be passionate about.
Well, that's a kind of a two different questions. The one part about people not liking their job. I mean, let's be honest, there must be days where you don't like going to school. You might not like doing homework. You might, have left everything too late and under an enormous amount of stress to get things done. Some people have ended up in a job just because they've ended up doing it, not because they've done and looked what I've just talked about, the passions, the pathways, and so on. And a lot of people end up in jobs they don't like because there's so many jobs out there they don't even know about, and so many opportunities, and they haven't taken that time to do the introspection. Now, at the end of the day, there are going to be points in all of our lives where we may end up doing a job we don't like because we have to pay the bills, and that's just part of life. But you don't have to think that that's it forever. Like I said earlier, most people don't have that one career for the rest of their life. And if you do get a job you don't like, it's often good to ask them, well, is there anything they do like about it? And sort of unpick that a bit.
Fantastic, thank you. One of our students asked, which industry do you think is going to grow the most in the next decade?
That's a really interesting question. I keep talking about IT and technology. They're not necessarily a sector because, like I said, I mean, obviously there is the IT sector, IBMs and tech companies, but technology is going to be absolutely the bedrock of everything. Every company has a website, for instance. Every person's job, especially now, is working on a laptop. Yeah, Teams was new to me. I had to learn that. So keeping in with technology and really using your innate skills to get to know about is really important, because those jobs that are using those will be the real future. The impact of what's happening now is definitely going to have a roll on. I shouldn't say definitely, but in my view, will have a roll on. I think there have been a lot of changes about people working remotely. There's been a lot of changes about using technology to do the job. And whilst we will someday, hopefully soon, go back to what normal is, it will be the new normal. And a lot of these things will carry on. In the short term, healthcare will become absolutely a growing and this is all aspects of healthcare will be really important. Any jobs to do with the creative sector. Now, I know music and arts and things are having a challenging time now, but again, with technology, that will be a changing force. People will always want to be involved, but those skills, like your graphics, like your web design, like your social media and all that, will be really strong areas in the future as well. But coming back to it, every sector, even hospitality, people who work in restaurants and so on, it will change and it will stumble, but there will still be jobs in all these sectors.
Absolutely. A couple of our students have been asking questions around their future careers and whether they can create their own by starting their own businesses, which I think is very exciting. Is there any advice or kind of suggestions you could put to that idea at all, Sharon?
I think that is absolutely a brilliant idea. I think that there'll be a huge strength for young people and running their own business. And this is entrepreneurial. So if you're going to Google something, Google entrepreneurships. But one thing that is really important, really important, if you're ever going to thinking about starting on business own, is I would highly recommend looking at doing some sort of accountancy or business course. So something like AAT, which is lower level, or ICAEW. All these sort of accountancy qualifications are absolutely 100% fundamental to starting your own business. Whatever you're doing, you're going to have to pay your taxes, you're going to have to invoice people, you're going to have to pay your bills, you're going to have to make sure your cash flow is working. And lots of young people, the exciting side is launching out and starting your own business, but the really challenging part is making sure you make some money out of it.
Absolutely. And we can share a few kind of links to different entrepreneurial sites as well, of partners that we've worked with in the Q&A thread shortly. I think a really interesting question, somewhat linked to your conversation around tech as well, Sharon, is, has social media changed careers? Oh,
completely. But it is a fickle thing, because social media isn't chopping and changing as much as it used to, but it is becoming very important for all businesses. And they're becoming important for businesses because one, it's a way of communicating, and they can get very targeted to whom they want to speak to, where they want to speak to them, and capture their attention. This is really very important for things like marketing and promotion and engagement. And it's crossing over with things that used to be quite separate, like these webinars. I imagine will be already, live things on Instagram and so on. So it is an interesting one of the future, and it is certainly evolving very quickly right now.
Fantastic, thank you. I think quite an interesting question here, something that a lot of our students might be thinking about, which has been submitted, is should not having grade requirements for a specific job prevent us from aiming for that dream job? Right. This is some kind of the home truth. So if we come back to professionals, being a profession, they will, before you could even get on some university courses, will have very strict requirements about what qualifications, like your A-levels and GCSE grades, you need to even get on the university course that gives you the qualification that will allow you to get the job. And there is a lot of mixed feeling from employers outside of that about what grades mean. So if we take someone who is a medium achiever, now some employers very much take the view that if it's quite evident from your application that you're doing lots of other things, that you have, you've done volunteer work, that you've got work experience, that you do things with clubs at school, that you're very involved with your family or your local community. Sometimes they read that very much as someone who's a really well-rounded person who isn't just stuck in a book all the time. So you shouldn't be afraid of everything has to be an A grade. It's more about you as a person. Again, I do want to qualify that with, some things do require certain grade levels to get on. And coming back to even apprenticeships, degree apprenticeships, there aren't a huge number of them out there. And quite often they're more competitive with grades, A-level grades, to do a degree apprenticeship than it is to get on some university courses. That's why, again, I cannot stress enough, research, research, research. Fantastic, thank you. We have time for one final question, and I guess that is, what advice or final advice or kind of words would you have for our students now? We're probably going to go away and look at all of those wonderful links you've shared with them. Well, my passion about my job is I am utterly fascinated by what people do. Now, if you had told me that when I was their age, when I wanted to be a graphic designer, I'd never thought in a million years I'd be doing what I'm doing now. I ended up here because of different steps and phases I went through in my life. But I do wish that when I was younger, I'd spent more time just asking all those questions like you said earlier, and really exploring and really listening and really engaging and really watching those videos, and not with a roll of your eye and saying, oh, I got to tick a box, I got to do this. Find out, because if you don't find out, then all these different questions that we were just talking about, grades and about qualifications and what my passions are, you'll never know. You'll just float through your life and things will happen to you. And I think it's really important to make things happen for you. That's fantastic advice. Thank you so much for being with us today, Sharon. And I think sharing some insights and some really practical tips and ways that our audience can research potential careers that they're interested in. And I'm certain we're going to have a lot of our students looking at lots of different sites that you shared today, and also just trying to think about what their future careers could hold. So thank you so much for making the time to be with us today. Yeah, one last final thing. I'm very active on Twitter. I'm at Sharon Walpole, and most of the feeds that I put up are very much about posts on different jobs and other sites and things I come across. So feel free to follow me, and of course you can ask me questions on there too. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for making the time to be with us today. And very quickly for our students, We've shared a feedback form in the Q&A thread. It'd be wonderful if you could complete that. We will share all of the links that Sharon shared with us today and spoke about on the Speakers for Schools virtual talk library in the coming days. And if you are completing the school activity sheet for your teacher, the colour for today's talk is dark purple. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is in fact our last virtual talk for this academic year, but we will be back in August with a series of events looking at developing specific skills such as leadership and teamwork. So be sure to keep your eyes peeled for that on our upcoming talks page on the Speakers for Schools website. Thank you so much for being with us, and we hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you.